welcome back to Imagine with Royce. Today is a very special day because we are going to be drawing Dopey from Walt Disney's first animated film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So with every character, let's just start out with a nice light circle. Disney characters are usually very round, and this is always the best way to start out the character. Now we're going to start with just a guideline, and all this is going to do is tell me where I'm going to be placing my eyes. And our next line is going to be just to the corner of the circle, and this tells me which way the character is facing. Now let's start adding some features. Let's start with the nose. Now Dopey has basically, I consider these like potato noses. They're just little circles, nothing too unique about this shape. And let's go up to his nostrils. Dopey is pretty special. He is the first mute character, and to be a main character and be mute in Disney is pretty rare. I believe Dumbo was also mute. It was more common towards the beginning of the Walt Disney Company than it is now, but he is just such a fun, lovable character, completely in love with Snoe White, and I can see why. I mean, she is the fairest of them all. So as you can see, every time I start to draw, I go based off of the nose. Now that's just the way I taught myself, but you could draw any which way. There is no right or wrong way when it comes to drawing a character. And just be very loose with your lines. Right now, these are just very soft lines just to kind of get into place all the shapes so that when we go back in with a black colored pencil, we could really trace in more depth and more detail the lines that we want. So let's finish his chin. Dopey has some very large cheeks. So anytime you're drawing a character, just remember that these characters are very sophisticated and they were drawn many, many times per second. So don't beat yourself up if your character does not look identical. Every single animator, even at Disney, drew a character slightly different, and I can always tell every time I watch a movie, especially with Beauty and the Beast. I was just watching that and I really saw the difference in the stylization of Belle towards the beginning of the film. Now every character gets a main character designer, and the character designer of the character will usually draw the character's first and last scenes and kind of like the big epic ones. So for instance, Beauty and the Beast, the first time you see Belle, that's going to be animated by Mark Hen. But let's say when she's in the town, in the library, or with her father, just talking, those weren't Mark Hen's drawings. Those are going to be another in-between animator that does those. So there are a lot of artists that work on these movies to bring them to life. And I can definitely see the difference in the Belle's stylization, but it still looks like her. So Dopey has beautiful blue eyes. So let's just put in these eyes. And I'm just having fun with Dopey. I'm not going too into depth yet with features. As I said before, we could go deeper into the details later. Right now, all I'm doing is putting in his eyebrows. Dopey has a pretty simplistic look to him overall. So let's go back with this forehead. His forehead actually kind of bulges out a little bit. He's the only dwarf with no beard. Very interesting. I wonder why Walt decided not to give Mr. Dopey a beard and make him mute. Certain questions I'm sure we all wonder. Let's add these ears. Dopey has very large ears, which make him very unique and lovable. So his cheek comes up here, And then we have this very large ear. And again, I'm just playing with the shape. I'm not too worried right now about like the detail. I just want to get everything into place. That way when it comes time for the details, everything will already be there. So these hats, can we talk about these hats? These are just, you would not see these today in the Disney design. They are so beautiful. I've always wanted one of the dwarf's hats and I still never gotten one, so bummer. I love the dwarf's costumes at the park. I think they're so fun. So his hat kind of curves like this. Very fluid shapes, no straight lines with these dwarfs. Very, very fluid. Let's add some more depth to his hat up here. And where the, about right here on his ear, we are going to have his hat curve up. And we'll get back to the rest of the hat later, but the hat also continues this way. Now let's go back to this ear. Actually sticks out a little bit more than I thought, but again, you can have it stick out as much as you want. This is your drawing. All right, so Dopey is coming to life. Look how fun he looks, so alive. Let's give him a tongue and kind of refine this mouth shape just a little bit. Dopey is so happy and full of life. I think that's why he's one of my favorite dwarfs. But my favorite dwarf of all time, of course, has to be Doc. Always have loved him. I love any dwarf that carries a lantern. He has a little bit of, I guess it would be a wrinkle. Now, at this point, I'm just going to go back and erase some of my earlier guidelines so I can see my overall drawing a little bit better. So let's go back and erase. I already see Dopey coming to life, which is really fun. Now let's give him a body. So from about here, it curves like this, and you're going to be wondering, what is that line? Well, these are the linings of his buttons on his little shirt. I love his color, the beautiful gold yellow. Very fun. Now, this is the part of the animation process that really takes concentration, because anytime you do humans, even dwarfs, it's a very sophisticated design, because a lot of design equally goes into the body of the figure. So let's see, we have this right here, and then let's go here. So you can already see there's such movement here with this line. You see the movement in the fabrics. That's what we want to see. Now let's actually come back up here and worry about this back shoulder that comes out of this beautiful curved line. And then right about here, we have a nice curb and then some wrinkles in the cloth. And then right here, we're going to add his shoulder that curves right into this wrinkle. And voila, we have Dopey. Now let's just add some final touches on his belt. And I believe we have a dwarf on our hands. Let's finish this hat, which just curves up. I don't really like how you can't see the end, but we'll get past that. So now let's go in and darken the lines that we want. So I'm going to first just give his eyes their depth, because once you bring the eyes, the whole character just comes to life. I'm going to give him a little bit of an eyelash. Now Dopey actually has eyelashes. He has 3 simple eyelashes, just like Bashful. And now let's color in the rest of his eyes. Let's darken that nose. I'm going to actually use the color pencil just a little bit to give it some depth. Shading is very, very important at this stage. Now let's darken where his mouth is. And there you have Mr. Dopey. Always sign your work. Thank you so much for joining me today on Imagine with Royce. If you liked this content, please give it a like, a thumbs up, and do not forget to hit that subscribe button. And I will see you next time on Imagine with Royce.